Dragon Dreamers, Gina, Virginia Casella here. Welcome to Story Species, Story Medicine. When we share our stories, we give and receive medicine. One of the best ways to heal is with the earth, and that's exactly what we do with each other right here on Story Species, Story Medicine. Ready to take your medicine? Hey, Dragon Dreamers, Gina, Virginia Casella here. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful morning. And fuck you if you thought I was going to do my hair and makeup, right? So it's 5:55. I feel like that's good synchronicity. It wasn't intended, but there's been some delays. I've been up all night, and somebody out there needs to hear what I'm about to read. So, my intention was not to hide my face. How can I turn off my, trying to show you my face here. I wanted to show you my book as I read it. And I took the time here to light a candle. It'd be nice if you could see it. Let me know in the comments if you're just waking up or going to work. I can't edit the microphone settings. Okay, well, you can't see my face. That's okay. I don't have hair and makeup on anyways. Whatever. Okay, I'm going to move on. You'll just have to imagine my nice pink comfy hoodie that I'm wearing, and you'll have to imagine my candle. And I'm going to be reading from Dragon Dreams, book 6. It's called Revered and Feared. So I'm going to start at the bottom of page 42, and I'm going to read without stopping, unless I got to go to the bathroom, and hopefully I'll remember to take the microphone off. I'm going to be reading till page 124. And I don't know why, but I've been up for a few hours now, and I was really excited to start my day because today's the day I'm supposed to be transforming the Dragon Dreams Oracle into something that I can publish, right? It's all done. I'm just looking for an app. If anybody knows, let me know. But all night, I was specifically thinking about this book, and it's like, why am I thinking about this, right? Because somebody out there, there's a dragon dreamer that needs to hear what this is about. And in a nutshell, what this is about, it's about me and the Great Galactic Navy. And it's about my dream life, but it's about how my dream life and waking life are coming together. And I work with these scientist colleagues. And you know what? I'm really not impressed with their technology. It's very big, it's bulky. Maybe back in the 70s and 80s, we might have been impressed with this stuff. But given the fact that it's 2025 and these are the kind of conversations I'm having with them, it just highlights the fact that these ET folk are not all that advanced, because somebody like myself in my dream life, I tend to be very simple-minded, and that tends to draw their attention over and over and over again. And just, um, power and simplicity, that keeps coming up, not just in my dream life, but my waking life as well. There's power and simplicity. And, sometimes not sometimes, but all of the time, when we're trying to advance ourselves, we often forget to keep things simple. When we complicate things, we lose sight. And that's what's happening to my scientist colleagues. And so, what I'm about to read to you, it may or may not make sense. If you're not familiar with the Dragon Dreams book series, definitely check me out, GinaVirginiaCasella.com. I've got all kinds of free available resources available for you. In fact, on my YouTube, there's lots of videos of me reading, and in my Buy Me a Coffee, that's a great place to follow me. You can follow me absolutely for free. I would love for you to donate on Buy Me a Coffee. It always makes me feel tickled pink, when somebody gives me some money, and it makes me feel motivated to keep doing what I'm doing. And on Buy Me a Coffee, you can follow my posts, and my posts, I post on there typically every day. And anyways, recently the point I wanted to make was I posted a bunch of links from my YouTube where I'm reading directly from the Dragon Dreams book series. So there's 8 books. I've got a suitcase full of more dream journals. The downloads keep coming, and I just feel compelled to read. And I'm glad you're back. And did you change your name? Because I recognize the 3541 as Moran Annie Met Kitty Sandmore. Welcome back. Glad to have you. And a big welcome to other folks who are tuning in on Rumble. And oops, I'm going to be reading now officially. But one thing I wanted to say quickly, I was just brain farting it out there for a moment, but one thing I wanted to say quickly is that, oh, there's my video. Hi, everybody. So yeah, I'm not hiding from you. I'm right here. Um, Now that you can see me, why don't I turn my background off? Because I wouldn't mind pulling this down. So I hope you weren't planning on seeing me with my hair and makeup done, right? What was I going to tell you? And I'm brain farting it out really bad too, which is another reason why I felt compelled to come on here this morning and read. Like, why wait, right? Come on here now and read. So let me take off my background. Media assets. I'm still figuring out StreamYard. If you're looking to level up, consider leveling up with StreamYard. It's very user friendly. I just mix up some things every now and then. Okay, no background. I don't even have my thing. You might see Rosie there sleeping. I'll give her some privacy. Okay, so somebody out there needs to hear what I'm about to read, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. That's what I wanted to say. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed with the Dragon Dreams book series, because it doesn't matter where you start reading. It just matters that you start reading. And I don't know about you, but I know that when I'm on the right track, when it comes to this kind of stuff, that's when I get really bad brain fog. I get very low energy, and I start feeling nauseous, and I'm starting to feel those feelings. So without further ado, I'm going to read, and I'm not going to look at the comments until I'm finished. That way I can get through the material, and of course you can catch this on the replay. So now you can see my candle. And I got myself a coffee here. Buy me a coffee. You know what? Instead of buying me a coffee, buy one of my books. Okay, so I'm reading this one here, Feared and Revered. I know you can't see my face. And let's get busy. And just I know I'm noticing the numbers keep climbing and declining. Folks are scrolling. So just for a final time, I don't want anyone to feel like I'm ignoring them, but I'm not going to look at the comments until I'm done. So it's probably going to be a good like 30, 40 minutes. I've got about 80 pages to read, and I am on the bottom of page 42. Okay. Dragon Dreams, book 6. Revered and Feared. Page 42. Page 7, Gina says, I'm like a preschooler in a university classroom, putting the university students to shame because my heart shines through their academic mumbo jumbo. These university students have strong academic backgrounds, yet lack the basics of heart and social emotional fundamentals. Basics and fundamentals in any discipline matter because you can't build on a weak foundation. When it comes to our alchemy and conscious evolution, we must insist on putting social emotional learning first because it's the currency of the heart that makes the world go round. That's how powerful I am as a hypnotherapist and facilitator because I help establish a strong foundation. And in this moment, age Gina, age 7 Gina, reiterates not to worry about spelling or grammar or all the blank spaces in these pages. She says they're very much intentional. Age 7 Gina tells me in another dimension, I work with the great galactic navy and not the guns type. I work with an extraordinarily intelligent team of scientists who greatly value my input, find me to be admirable with my personal matters and perseverance, and they also find me to be a bit annoying. I can be annoying to them because I don't understand most of their advanced communication. Yet, I consistently trump them with my simplicity. Some of them are frustrated I'm even on the team. Yet, it's these exact folks I leave speechless time and time again. It's these folks who insist on working with me more closely. They ask me all kinds of questions like how the numbers 5 and 7 are the same and different. Fascinates me how fascinated they are with my responses. These folks have their own philosophies and theories, which I trump repeatedly with my simplicity. Also, no matter how fancy their technology is, it always seems to be quickly outdated, bulkier than it needs to be, and it never beats the currency of the heart. The Great Galactic Navy is investigating many things, including how to harness the energy of emotions and compassion as an alternative to traditional fuel sources. For example, rather than using an engine powered by gasoline, we could potentially utilize the metaphorical heartbeat of emotional energy. Even small amounts of this energy can provide the buoyancy needed for both inner and outer space travel. Our research team consists of a diverse mix of misfits from all over time and space, including timelessness for that matter, and non-matter. The team consists of AI, extraterrestrial beings, terrestrial species, and hybrids of all kinds. We affectionately refer to our team as folks, though we joke that fuckers humorously covers all. Some are uncomfortable with swear words because they associate them with taking the Lord's name in vain or as a warning for losing control and dysregulating. We avoid using the Lord's name in vain and instead honor swear words as creative expression. However, vulgar language creates static in our communication waves with the radio system. If the language is not vulgar, swear words may get through. Given the language barriers, people are currently hesitant to swear to avoid causing unintended offense. I'm told most of my swearing makes it through the radio, and a lot of fuckers are learning how to apply swearing appropriately. I find it hilarious that our positive growth mindset implies fuckers may one day replace folks entirely. Furthermore, I've been told that profanity and vulgarity can be useful forms of self-expression. Language itself is an art form, and the ability to swear creatively and effectively is an art, like storytelling or joke telling. Essentially, any word has the potential to wound when used as a weapon. More than the word itself, it is mostly the tone that makes it hurtful. Wielding tone skillfully is an art. Rather than shoot someone literally, you can shoot them down emotionally and mentally. Moreover, emotional violence trumps physical violence. And at the top of page 46, just going to sneak a little sip of my coffee here. I tend to wait for my coffee to get to the right temperature and then I chug it. Let me know how you drink your coffee in the comments. Oh boy. Bottom of page 46, or top of 46. The ancient poets and seers were feared and revered because they masterfully wielded the power of belief through their art. Using tools like words, images, colors, and symbols, they skillfully blended language and imagery to resonate powerfully with the human psyche, and the heart of their power was a cross between tone and belief. Their ability to harmonize their creative expression with the biology of belief allowed them to profoundly impact their audiences. Elements the elementals part of this audience, as stories long ago inform us that Morgan Le Fay and her fellow seers were able to manifest fireball raining from the sky onto the opposition. And when I wrote this, anytime I make reference to Morgan Le Fay, I'm talking about the Morrigan. I didn't have the clarity at the time. It makes me wonder if Moses was a poet and seer, as he was able to split the water. We are reminded that we too can use language and creativity to positively influence others, bringing people together around uplifting ideas and visions, much like composing an inspiring song. Like the German tactile advisor, Tim suggests the motto, "All shift happily now." Children should be taught about the appropriate and responsible use of potentially harmful or emotionally charged words, tones, objects, and beliefs. In communities where guns are common, for example, it is reasonable to educate children on gun safety and proper handling from an early age. This education fosters comfort and familiarity, as well as a healthy respect for the power of guns to cause injury or death if misused. With age-appropriate education, children can gain the knowledge to use powerful words and objects in considered practical manner. Essentially, each fucker in their own right is a powerful tool. The gun has no power, as the power is always in the one who is using it. It's the same with words, tones, objects, and beliefs. The decision to cease hostilities between adversaries, even without formal peace, holds promise. For example, North Korea and South Korea remain technically at war, yet agreed to halt violence against each other. This restraint allows some hope for eventual reunification. Meanwhile, the division persists, with North Korea especially isolated, lacking resources and rights. I am rarely impressed by new technology. My straightforward thinking allows me to bring a fresh perspective to the team. For instance, their current crafts have rows of small wheels in T or X shapes for mobility. I proposed replacing those with a large central ball supported by smaller peripheral balls. This ball design would let the crafts roll smoothly in any direction, improving maneuverability over the rectangular shape with triangular tips that only move forward and backward. An an oval exterior could also help a redesigned craft glide, zoom, flip-flop, pivot, and spin with ease. The current models need to make wide turns to change direction. In combat or emergencies, the craft can loop to flip over or turn around, but this maneuver requires too much space to right itself again in a timely fashion. Traditionally, this is why so many things have such lengthy orbits. Instead, an oval exterior could help by allowing the craft to pitch up and roll back more easily. Tilting creates flipping and rolling with less space than looping. Moreover, it creates momentum. One of my colleagues gives me an image of whales and submarines. Original models were based on these forms. This is why in ghost stories, the ghosts are always stretched out, because their image is rooted in these images. The stretching out is representative of the present moment and the forward movement of biological time. Just as a car leaves behind a diffusing gas trail, we too have fading ghost trails, comet trails, and flickering flame tips, representative of our consciousness. These fading trails are linked to the present moment, siphoning outdated programs into the past and carrying forward only the best parts into the future. Like a flickering flame, we forage the present moment based on the current present moment. Some present moments are more pressing than others. Colleagues also give me an image of the spaghettification process, which in theory has something to do with string theory, stretching out, compression, and the building blocks of life. The universe is always breathing, and therefore expanding and contracting. We exist in the expanding section of the infinity symbol, representative of the universe and its balance, Therefore, we're expanding with it, stretching out lengthwise. It's possible these lengthy shapes are representative of a line, stick, number one type of representation. Composing and decomposing is a simple matter of adding layers or peeling the layers away. Process of decomposition and renewal parallels digestion, whereby matter is broken down and reconstituted. Just as food is absorbed and transformed in the digestive system, all things eventually disassemble and reassemble in the cosmic cycle of renewal. This spaghettification metaphorically represents the process of expansion and compression that shape the composition and decomposition of matter, like layers of flesh or soil. The components of existence stack and entwine, evoking string theory's notion of layered dimensions. Thus, the universe perpetually builds upon its own foundations through cycles of creation and decay. If one were to observe closely, we can see the strings in flesh, in bone, and in blades of grass. All layers have access to each other, just like dimensions, and all layers can concentrate and sort cells accordingly, just like illness can be sweated out, or like how we can see the layers in rock formations separating and transforming into layers of veins of gold, for instance. My colleague potentially theorizes that the primordial forms of straight lines and spheres, evoking male and female anatomy, represent the binary code of ones and zeros underlining reality. He presents me with an image of straight lines widening in the middle, expanding to form hollow spheres like planets or donut shapes. The central idea is that the fundamental duality of lines and spheres connect to the duality of binary code, hinting at a transformative relationship between these symbolic forms. He shows me another image of a line that begins to form a bump in the middle, like pregnancy. This image reminds me of ancient images of seeds, grains of rice, and eyeballs, which could represent the same meanings and used interchangeably. I'm not sure who this colleague is, and I appreciate his simple images conveying imaginative, metaphorical visions. It's Manus. I can see his form. He looks like a giant black ant, but he's a praying mantis. He tells me he's learning simplicity through me. Manus tells me that, like swear words, using sexualized language is an art. Lots of fuckers are learning how to use sexualized language appropriately. Manus and I briefly review the importance of children learning about their bodies, including their private parts, so they can develop healthy boundaries and recognize inappropriate behavior. While discussing private body parts makes many adults uncomfortable, having open conversations empowers children to speak up if someone violates their boundaries. These lessons the children carry throughout their life. Prioritizing social emotional learning in schools helps foster these critical discussions starting in early childhood, supporting children's well-being and self-advocacy. Moreover, the overall currency of the heart that beats through us as a collective community. And I'm at the top of 53 if anyone's following along. And if anyone has any thoughts, please put them in the comments. I'll check them when I'm done, just so I can stay focused here. I don't want you to feel like I'm ignoring you. Manis has a little heart-to-heart with me. He explains that this team of scientists are obsessed with academics and are guilty of making academics a priority. Pushing academics was their way of knowing, rooted in survival mode, which has now changed. So, prioritizing social emotional learning is important to them. Often, the scientists don't mean to, but they slip back into old habits prioritizing academics. So, they really value my input. If I feel like they're annoyed of me, it's because they're annoyed of themselves for slipping back into an old habit. They have their own hypnosis, personalized audios, and things they do to help make change in their thinking. Manis explains to me that hmm, Manis explains that my colleagues are often too advanced for me. Some AI members are indifferent to my limitations, while others make efforts to meet me at my level. AI has been created to help bridge communication gaps. Rather than memorizing facts, I desire and require the ability to think critically and creatively. I now spend a lot of time online using copy AI to help bridge communication between myself and my various colleagues. I often receive images through dreams that seem to flash learning before me. Once awake, I feel compelled to draw these dreamed versions to demonstrate and solidify my newfound understanding. Manis tells me that sometimes dreams are not teaching me anything new, but rather stimulating my thinking and activating my brain, especially with my brain fog. He explains that this mental stimulation is like doing matching games to engage my cognition. In this way, even when the dreams don't provide new information, the process of dreaming still benefits me cognitively. Manis says to view all this learning and communication as an editing process. He bluntly admits that these scientists, including himself, create many amazing things, but have also learned the hard way that their inventions could fall into the wrong hands and cause great harm. Therefore, everything is just ongoing discussion and theorizing. There are consistent meetings about progress, yet nothing materializes until we feel we've gained as much perspective as possible about what we're building. The scientists have also come to realize that everything evolves on its own. For instance, a simple toaster or a pair of running shoes has the potential to develop its own consciousness and sense of awareness, while also potentially housing a host like a spirit or any disembodied entity. If you create something, even something seemingly harmless like lipstick, it could potentially be misused or inspire unethical ideas. This is because any object, no matter how non-threatening, has the potential to cause harm if used inappropriately or with ill intent. Any creation, including something as harmless as lipstick, carries the risk of misuse or inspiring unethical applications if it falls into the wrong hands. Even the softest cotton ball could potentially be weaponized given ill intent. As a team, we align our thinking by collaborating. Behind the scenes, Manis has advocated for me to join the scientists periodically to contribute my perspective and gain exposure to theirs, helping me learn the ropes, so to speak. He compares it to when I volunteered on committees for the British Columbia Teachers' Federation, connecting locally and provincially with other districts at various times each year. This context helps me understand the dynamics at play on our team. Manis and I continue conversing with the rest of the scientists. They speak of how we're all once. They speak of how we were all once in a state of ones and zeros. We could tuck and roll, so to speak. We could also do things like shape ourselves like a balloon, then stretch out one end and let ourselves go to move at accelerated rates. We could drop the part that pulled out to accelerate. Simply put, it is like a lizard detaching its tail to scurry away. We could also buddy up and make shapes like bows and arrows moving each other across vast distances, intentionally or not. We could even merge through fusion by the heat created upon impact. Moreover, we could break each other apart. We were simple cells, and yet quite extraordinary. Crafts these scientists build are designed to reflect a cell, like a house. Words can be interpreted as having the same meaning, like cell, house, craft, and form. Each house requires a foundation and a housekeeper to maintain it. The house will care for the housekeeper until the housekeeper awakens. Once awakened, the housekeeper can absolutely make renovations. And this is what we call biohacking. The housekeeper taking care of the house, keeping up with necessary upgrades. Eventually, the house and the housekeeper will see themselves as one and the same. Essentially, they always were. They just hadn't awakened to it. The scientists want me to help them apply this information to their craft development. We refocus the conversation to craft development. The scientists affirm my reflections that celestial bodies do not actually orbit or migrate, rather exist in an endless state of turning around. This aligns with the alchemical principle of turnaround, a literal cyclical transformation. The sea turtle's migration, the salmon's journey upstream, pod of dolphins riding the waves. These creatures epitomize the concept, completing a winding, convoluted, circulatory voyage, personal alchemy, conscious evolution. Their stirring movements inspire visions of crafts that could mimic such graceful, perpetual revolution. Their circulatory journey is reflective of a circulatory system, like blood, for example, circulating through the heart and rest of the body. The universe functions like this. Consciousness and the elementals create the organs inside the universe. And we're all like these little housekeepers inside, stationed within each organ. It's all about the layers within layers, cells within cells. Alchemy is like whales migrating the ocean, birds migrating the skies, comets migrating outer space, blood cells migrating the circulatory system, and us migrating our conscious evolution. The scientists would like to hear more of my insight about the ball in the center of a craft. The ball cockpit area in the center allows the pilots and control system to remain upright as the craft maneuvers. This inner compartment rotates to keep the crew oriented correctly if the craft goes upside down or backward. The cockpit functions as a craft within the main craft, ejecting in emergencies to protect the crew like an escape pod. Made of durable crystal, it can sustain the pilot and provide necessities like fire. If critically damaged, the pod can bury itself or merge in sand or water and transmit complex encrypted signals to enable retrieval. I tell them they can install these signals or embed them into the natural world. For example, having a big flashlight exposing the crash-landed crew is seemingly great. However, they would also be easily spotted by any potential opposition. Potential opposition could also figure out the codes. I propose we can cultivate symbiotic relationships with nature, like birds, just as diverse organisms rely on one another in ecosystems. For instance, crows could discreetly alert us to dangers, acting as our allies. If we extend goodwill, nature is an intricate web of beings assisting each other when treated with respect. Like us, nature possesses both subjective and objective qualities, seeking balance through reciprocal bonds. By recognizing our shared origins with the natural world, we can consciously evolve together through the alchemy of mutual aid. It's all about sovereignty, personal agency, and free will. When I think about crash landings, I imagine that the best place for anything crash landing to hide would be in plain sight, blending into the environment. The ideal scenario would be for the object to take on a form or merge with a form, whether trees, mailboxes, benches, or grains of sand. Though fanciful, it's possible to hide in one's eyeball or dreams. Playfully, I've wondered if crash landers could disguise themselves as lush, beautiful, thick hair, helping me out with my receding hairline. I also wonder, rather than polluting our world with fancy plastic fingernails, the ET refugees could take on those forms. Yes. I mean, it seems no one is paying attention to things like used fingernails, so it would be a great place to hide instead. It would be a great place to hide inside a fingernail or to take on the form of a plastic fingernail. With imagination, one could seek refuge by shape-shifting into anything or one. I hear some ETs have pets and wear them as jewelry. Now, I can't help but wonder if these pets are refugees blending in and/or entities waiting for a body transfer. I wear contact lenses to correct my vision. I fantasize that a shape-shifting ET could transform into one of my retinal cells, lens fibers, or other ocular structures to permanently restore my eyesight. This speculation leads me to imagine such a being merging into anything: a dog's missing limb, transplant organ, inanimate objects, natural formations, or even cosmic entities. Perhaps planet Earth itself is a sentient ET being, and we humans are like symbiotic microorganisms. The sovereignty of Earth as land and surface represents an epidermis, Manus often emphasizes not to worry if things don't make sense. In truth, most of what we talk about doesn't make sense and contradicts itself, but that's oxymorons for you. Manus takes a moment to emphasize that given the various biology of beliefs out there, things that would make sense here doesn't make sense in other places, from food that is consumed, to the color of the sky, to the general ecosystems. In some dimensions, pigs fly, and it's very normal. Lots of things have wings, and truly, wings are like a decoration, because no one ever requires wings to fly. Having wings to fly is a biology of belief, and it's linked to the biology of belief of everything within. Like the whole entire planet Earth, for example, believes that if I jumped off a building, I would fall to the ground. So no matter how hard I believe it, I can't fly. It's not part of our biology of belief. However, if everyone did believe I could jump off the roof and fly, then I could, in theory, do this, because we would be playing God, as in harnessing God source energy. We could be one voice, so to speak. And if that's what we did as a collective, it could work. For this to never happen, it was important for those who are power hungry and lacking in confidence, and many other things, who felt that they needed to separate folks and cause harm, so there would be hate. And essentially, if we all hate each other, then there is a significant chance we won't harness our God power and play the instruments we are. Hence again, playing God. Then is the full disclosure. Well, just another one, I suppose. That's right. We're God, and a God collective. If we got along and harness God energy, we'd be the most powerful thing. The evil folks, better categorized as mentally ill folks, don't like this. Mentally ill folks now bear this name because no one is born evil. It's not like the opposite scale is exact. So if we got rid of being so rigid, and for example, we did away with extremes, like on a scale of 1 to 10, if we removed the numbers 1, 2, 9, and 10 to avoid such extremes, and still we find bleed through into the numbers 3 and 8. Barriers are required, healthy barriers. Menace says he's off track, and the point he wanted to make was that whenever things like repulsion theory or other such theories come up, that I can look up the definitions to get a basic scope. However, don't worry about understanding biology so much, because even if you do, repulsion theory and things like pregnancy can mean different things in various dimensions. So what you say could be absurd or very accurate somewhere else. For what it's worth, knowing you don't have a science background and knowing you don't watch scary movies, it's interesting for our team to hear your perspective. It strikes them, the things that you say. Manus and I are one and the same. He's one of my higher selves, so I tap into Manus's mind, if you will, and I remember from TV I watched Manus, with the other scientists, is fascinated because he can't backtrack where I might have gotten these ideas. It's possible another Manus in another dimension is more advanced and assisting. Yes, he says with certainty and knowing, yes, it's another Manus assisting. Manus will be receiving downloads with his new connection. the advanced Gina is the unmaker. Trashlanders with immense power and ability could manifest as massive natural forces like mountains or Niagara Falls. With such capacity, they could create a special hurricane to attract all the plastic in the ocean, cleaning it up. It could also be tempted for them to form into a hurricane and wreak havoc, just as they could easily morph into devices to restore the planet. These concepts could apply these concepts could apply from a microscopic to the massive scale, as the principles are the same. This line of thinking creates me to really fall down the rabbit hole, confirming my suspicion that either the visitors or crash landers' technology is not that advanced. So I feel they are holding back because they are afraid and or selfish and or not all that advanced as initially thought. I'm at the top of page 65. Theories can easily invalidate one another, creating a domino effect. Theories help guide our thinking by establishing logical consistencies in how we understand things. If X leads to Y according to a theory, then great. But if X does not lead to Y as predicted, the theory crumbles. Theories resemble a kaleidoscope of ideas. As one pattern of thinking folds in, another emerges. Just like the life-death-life cycle, a theory needs to be fed. Otherwise, it'll die. So, how much longer will we be feeding theories that we no longer find accurate? In other words, now that we've awakened to trumped theories, the real question is, how much longer are we going to be feeding a lie? And why would anyone feed any lie? Why would we not want to feed the truth? Perhaps this lying is an attempt to biohack the God Source Energy Collective, meaning bullies, if you will, are reprogramming the collective with lies. So the lies eventually become the truth. Yet, these lies can't be the truth because the biology doesn't support it. Because any truth and all truth will prevail. So even if the lies are perceived as truth for eons and eons, eventually the real truth will surface. And the truth shouldn't be heart-wrenching for us. It's just, this is how much we cling to lies. What the hell even is truth? Only truth is the present moment. That's a moment to moment truth. So yes, truth is each moment. And choosing to live in truth, choosing to live an honest life. What is honesty? Old-fashioned values, I suppose. The Gnome King chimes in, stating something like mountains are dragons in a state of slumber. Many crash landed here or were put here on planet Earth. Many things came here by their own free will and choosing. Many were born here. Many came here for all different kinds of reasons, and many became the actual planet. All of these examples became children of the earth. A Gnome King encourages us to broaden our perspective, emphasizing that all aspects of nature, from individual blades of grass to entire ecosystems, possess consciousness and are interconnected. To illustrate this interconnectivity, he depicts the water cycle, noting that water comprises all things. Thus, by cultivating close ties with elemental beings, we gain allies throughout the natural world, including within our advisories. Yes, water is inside the very blood, sweat, and tears of the opposition, can provide us with insight, and vice versa. In terms of creativity, the Gnome King wonders why we need to be so dramatic blowing each other up when we can connect the water, making the very blood in the opposition's body thicken so they would die. And we could do this from a faraway distance. We could also do things from a distance like extract the salt from their body or another essential mineral, killing them in this manner. We could alter the light spectrum in and around them. Some with sound, it's the same with sound waves. There is so much we could do. And the Gnome King wonders, out of all the things we do, we never once walked away from our scarcity mindset. Gnome King reiterates that the elementals aim to serve everyone indifferently. The elementals can cooperate with us, but we can never control them or try to get them to take sides. For example, water can reveal the location of a lost craft, but if it senses we intend to misuse the craft, it will withhold that information. Water tells the Gnome King to remind us that in the past and still today, people unintentionally throw others overboard to drown. There is nothing the water can do but watch in horror and try to bring the drowning person peace until death. Sometimes water was able to summon dolphins to help if they were close enough to arrive in time. Water understands the critical nature of time, especially in drowning situations. Timeless scientific colleagues compassionately shake their heads, thankful they don't have to deal with such harsh realities as time. The water longed to save drowning people by transforming into a ball that would carry them to safety. However, manipulating its form in this way diminished the water's power at that time and put it at risk for its autonomous ability to be revealed. So instead, the water worked discreetly with the sand to create waves and currents to bring those drowning back to shore. It was a lot of trial and error. The water, like us, lives and learns. Also, like us, the water has learned to live consciously. So when it makes mistakes, it makes conscious mistakes, meaning the falls are softer and easier to recover from. Anyways, this explains the many holes, random large boulders, and uneven patches of sand at the beach, where the water and sand have conspired to rescue people from drowning. By shape-shifting the sand into makeshift land bridges, those who had nearly drowned could find refuge. Everyone thought it was coincidence that the land seemingly evolved like this, and or that large sea creatures snuggle their way into the sand, leaving these shapes behind. Yet it was always the elementals helping us out. The river is troubled by the memories of desperate mothers long ago, compelled by hardship to send their infants downstream in baskets, hoping against hope the water would carry them to safety. Through nature sometimes, though nature sometimes allowed the little ones to survive, many lives were lost in those dark times. The river still mourns the innocent babes drowned at the order of King Herod at the time of Jesus' birth. It echoes with the cries of infants murdered throughout history, including those like Moses, who escaped when his mother hid him in a basket among the reeds. Though the water brought salvation to some, it could not save them all. And the river remembers each soul it bore away because the water was bound by limitations in this biology of belief. Water is to act like water, as dictated by the guidelines that come with co-dreaming. The water confesses to an underlying collaboration with the sand that allowed Jesus to walk across its surface that day, a risky act that exposed their truth, which was meant to remain concealed. Like the water, the other elements were steadily awakening and revealing new capabilities. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. The elementals could develop their own personalities and communities within communities, doing such things as rising above, taking action. At this time, the water acted with emotion rather than reason to save Jesus from drowning. However, the truth is that if people knew nature itself had rescued Jesus, they would have destroyed the environment out of fear, as they did with the ancient ancestral forest due to superstition. As a quick thinker and spiritual leader, Jesus fabricated a story that he could walk on water, also concealing the identities of those who tried to drown him. He understood they were not evil, just misguided, and they went on to spread his teachings. Jesus believes in second chances and building bridges between people. By lying, he enables the truth of his message to spread while protecting both humanity and nature. When Jesus died on the cross, the elementals went wild with frustration. It took the elementals everything to not wreak havoc. Had they, it would have self-destructed the entire planet Earth, which would have rippled to destroying our entire solar system. Jesus' death is a blueprint or timestamp when nature's consciousness really began to shift and awaken. When the Son of God is dying on the cross, it's time to wake up from our illusions and amnesia. So this is what happened. Nature's consciousness escalated, completely amplifying. Manus discusses how terrifying it must be for some extraterrestrials to observe the violent behavior that humans exhibit. Many extraterrestrials are frightened by humans and other species on Earth, according to Manus. Additionally, Manus mentions that some individuals are angry with God because they believe God created Jesus to essentially be sacrificed, like soldiers sending dogs into dangerous areas first. Though the dogs are trained, the fatalities cannot be denied. This is like scientists sending dogs into space, a controversial and ongoing debate. Was Jesus like a dog in this sense? God perhaps thought to send Jesus as a test, and clearly the test failed. I mean, if Jesus was treated like this, how we how would we treat God? And if God is inside all of us, then why wouldn't Jesus see us all as his parents? Why wouldn't we be all referring to Jesus as our son rather than our brother? Janice tells me lots of information. I struggle to keep up chronologically, and a lot of it goes right over my head. He tells me the parting of the Red Sea, long attributed to Moses, did not happen as traditionally described. Moses had a symbiotic bond with nature that responded to his needs. The sea was too deep and the sea floor too unstable to simply part. Given the great depth and urgency of the moment, there was not enough time for the sand to rise to the surface. Instead, a large school of fish gathered, forming a pathway for the Hebrews to cross. This extraordinary sight was obscured by the walls of water on both sides, which appeared as towering waves. Once safely across, the fish dispersed and the water returned to its flat state. The original story combines multiple narratives, as someone other than Moses parted the sea according to the source material. However, we will use Moses as a metaphor since the common version is more familiar, regardless of its accuracy. Another account describes the Egyptian army drowning in the sea while chasing after the fleeting Israelites. Ultimately, the water itself shows us that freedom fighters and terrorists may simply be different perspectives on the same events. The residents of the sea, the fish people, have been creating a bridge. They created a bridge and water fences along the sides. The water itself is indifferent, yet through its symbiotic relationship with the fish folk, such structures become possible. This story seems to combine multiple narratives. The water aimed to demonstrate its natural cycles that unintentionally create devastating events like water tornadoes and tsunamis. These cycles have patterns that can warn us if we become conscious of them, just as winter's approach can be predicted. Additionally, forces of any kind can never be completely contained, though their power can be harnessed. For instance, we can generate energy from water. However, if a dam containing water breaks, we face catastrophic flooding. Such floods are not the water's fault or intention. Point is, water on its own would never selectively open and close dams to kill people and favor one group over another. It was likely the fish folks' intervention that killed the pursuing Egyptians, and if so, it would be insightful to gain their perspective of why. It's also possible that the story is nonfiction and or parts of it, and as much as we like to infer and speculate, Manus advocates it is unwise to start pointing possible fingers, for example, at the fish folk, even if it was eons ago. He says this is why these higher level conversations are not for everyone, as they could easily breed a lot of upset and lose focus. I feel like all I'm doing is breeding upset and losing focus. I thought we were discussing crafts, and yet keep losing focus again to focus on the perspectives that could apply to the development of crafts. Moreover, I'm receiving all kinds of downloads simultaneously, so it's tricky to loop back to the main conversation. Manus says jumping around like this is a good sign of learning and making connections. He reassures me not to worry about jumping around. When we spend time together, we're also spending time with timeless folks. So it's like dreams and cartoons in the sense that information isn't always in sequence. And there are dreams within dreams. And I just have to go to the washroom, Dragon Dreamers. I will return. I'm on page 76. I'm taking off my microphone, and I will be back in just a moment. Hey, Dragon Dreamers, back from the bathroom. So, I see there's some comments there. Um, and Sal is commenting, wow, and what? No way, and oh, wow, fireball onto cops. Yeah, and let me know what you think is cool, Sal. I'd love to know. And for what it's worth, the more I read this, the more I feel like I'm on the decline, and that's how I know I need to keep reading this. I'm not one to get headaches right here. Oh my God, it feels like somebody hit me, like right here. Um, so that's why I'm reading this. Can you hear me? I wanted to make sure I didn't bring my microphone to the bathroom. So, in case you didn't hear what I just said, Sal, thank you for your comments. I'd love to know what is wowing you and what you think is amazing. Let me know. Uh, Also, if folks out there wanted to post in the comments, um, in Buy Me a Coffee, or post in my free Facebook group, the Dragon Dreams Soul Tribe Collective, to do that. So today I'm on here live reading from the Dragon Dreams book series. This is book 5, Revered and Feared, written by yours truly, Gina Virginia Casella. And that's my hand that I traced on the cover. And somebody needs to hear this today. I had other plans today, but and I was also my microphone. If you didn't catch it, I'm on the decline, and I feel like somebody, like, just like I took a blow to the head. I'm honestly not in the mood to read this, but I really strongly feel like somebody needs to hear this. So, where'd my other hand? Where'd my other hand go? Ugh. All right, folks and fuckers alike, let's get back to the Dragon Dreams book series. Okay, so I'm at the top of page 76, and I'm reading until page 124. These narratives highlight ongoing philosophical debates among elemental forces and I gotta change my light here. I'm feeling nauseous. There we go. Okay. Can you see my candle? There we go. These narratives highlight ongoing philosophical debates among elemental forces regarding if and how much to intervene in human affairs. For what it's worth, the water, fish folk, and other sea folk mourned the death of the pursuing Egyptians. They ended up healing with each other and formed a committee in the afterlife, discussing such things. Ultimately, nature is not a force to be reckoned with. All nature follows no man's direction, but acts on her own counsel. Still, conscious evolution, wisdom, and social emotional learning can inspire humankind to make decisions from both mind and heart that prevent violence and enable peaceful resolutions. The Gnome King laughs energetically, though unapologetic by nature. He pauses to say sorry for his frequent interjections, realizing they distract us. Timelessness, folks, works this way. Timelessness works this way. That's why we may wake at odd hours, burning with an urge to do something. It's because someone outside of time reaches out. From now on, the Gnome King will be mindful, telling others to be as well. Should we feel such urgent desires in the wee hours or any time, we ought to respond now that this is clear. They wouldn't disturb us needlessly. Those in timelessness connect with those in time for good reason. And that's me reading this to you right now. I felt compelled this morning to read this, and I gotta dim the light here. It's too much for me. Okay, hopefully you can still see me. The intention today is you're listening anyways. So I'm at the top of page 77. The Gnome King impresses me with his ability to manifest his thoughts into reality, seemingly just by thinking them. Manus explains that the Gnome King's power stems from his deep connection to the present moment. He is highly attuned to everything existing in the now. This attunement allows him to chime in at will, as he is constantly listening, yet not clinging to anything he hears. We return to our conversation about the ball in the center of the craft. The weight from the controls, equipment, and supplies are concentrated at the front and back of the craft. I suggest centering the weight as it would allow for easier steering and stability. Additionally, if the craft was damaged, it would likely be the front or back sections. Like some lizards that can release their tails when threatened, the craft could discard the front and or back as an escape mechanism. The tails of these lizards eventually grow back, and the crafts could do the same. A weight attached to the rotating inner ball could assist with steering and generating momentum, possibly flinging the craft away as a final evasive act or self-destructing into opposition. Without fuel, the craft relies on magnets, buoyancy, and angles to maneuver, like a roller coaster. Inside the rotating ball are hula hoops with small magnets to steer the craft, like shifting one's weight when riding a snowmobile. The scientists are very impressed with my idea. They begin discussing the technical details to make it feasible. They explain that this concept of a craft within a craft has ancient origins, and they believe my ancient nature is why I conceived of it. They explain that each grain of sand is a crystal, and each crystal is a universe within its own right that has its own God inside. Therefore, when we create things, we can learn from nature by building on the concept of layers within layers, spheres within spheres, dimensions within dimensions. Triangles are the strongest structure and can be arranged in a way to create balls and other shapes. The crafts essentially built like a folding and unfolding puzzle of triangle pieces. The scientists explain many complex concepts that I struggle to grasp, as the material is quite advanced for me. However, they speak to me as if I already understand everything perfectly. One scientist turns to me laughing and says, "We'll catch on soon enough." Another chuckles and tells me I'm already aware of all this on a deeper level. It's just about remembering what I inherently know. They say it's important to speak to me as if I'm knowledgeable, because on some planes, that's true, and it will help reactivate my full understanding. When I get an idea, I'm really just remembering things, with my mind framing the memories as novel insights to fit the current situation. So when my thinking flows quickly and easily, it means I've tapped into stored knowledge or received an influx of new information. The flow signifies immersion in this well of forgotten wisdom or reception of a new download. Rather than bulky spacecraft loaded with multiple tools, I suggest they develop programmable Play-Doh that can morph into any shape needed. This advanced technology would eliminate the need for unnecessary storage space while providing flexibility through its ability to transform on demand. Since shape-shifting is an option, why wouldn't we apply it to our tools and technology? We could transform into the machines we rely on, become one with them. Envision a group merging into a single craft, our life forces bound to it, yet able to interact both within and outside it. In this form, we could rapidly create new vehicles and technologies, vastly expanding exploration. The smaller balls along the edges could have varying sizes and functions. For example, some balls could be wheels for mobility, lights for illumination, shovels for digging, or other tools. As previously stated, a programmable Play-Doh would shift into these tools accordingly. Perhaps there are no portholes, just programmable Play-Doh all around us. Perhaps nothing portholes anywhere. Perhaps things simply form and unform, only seemingly coming from nowhere, like a porthole. The wheels could extend like arms to help the craft pivot and maneuver with ease. Moreover, the craft's arms could extend to repair itself and other crafts. Furthermore, the craft could free itself if stuck in mud. The craft could be more than just a vehicle. It could be a multi-purpose tool and or conscious entity. For instance, it could help with transportation, filtering water if equipped with the right attachments and or programs to shapeshift. The craft could do anything. The arms could even pick and process fruit, essentially turning the craft into a mobile food processing factory. If programmed with self-repair capabilities, the craft could potentially use those skills to stitch up injured folks too. Balls, including the master large central ball, could be composed of hoops that can spin independently, in groups, or all together. Each hoop contains a magnet and weight that allows the craft to be steered by shifting the weights. I comment that magnets contain the original divine energy blueprint, as does everything else. This allows broken pieces to recognize each other, reforming magnetically, like in the Terminator movie. Fragments can morph into basic elements of solid, liquid, or gas to rejoin the main craft. In the case of the Terminator, any blasted off body parts easily make their way back, while just as easily rejoining the Terminator's body. Each craft has a unique identifying blueprint, like human fingerprints. Additional blueprints can be installed to help the crafts distinguish one from another. They can also foster one another, merging and recombining as needed, even into a singular unified craft. This makes me think about soul transfer and holding a soul or any energy in one body. The body could be a brick, a tree, a cell, craft, a Terminator, me, anything. The scientists explain that fundamentally all beings are the same. We have not yet mastered repulsion theory or become indifferent to it. If not for repulsion theory, which forms a magnetic outline around us that repels certain energies, all beings would merge into one another. In fact, we never truly touch one another, even when shaking hands, hugging, or having intimate relationships, as there is always a subtle space between us. They provide me with insight about shapeshifters and repulsion theory. Shapeshifters possess the ability to alter their physical forms as well. Not just alter their physical forms, but alter their physical forms at will. According to shapeshifters, repulsion theory applies even during the act of transformation, as each biological cell and spiritual cell are in a constant state of repulsion. Each cell that makes up our very bodies is not actually touching each other because of repulsion theory. They describe shape-shifting as assembling and reassembling the puzzle pieces of one's body into new configurations, or even only seemingly merging with other entities. In contrast, I thought my mic was muted there for a second. Okay. I'm on page 83, Dragon Dreamers. In contrast to evolution and metamorphosis, which produce permanent changes, shape-shifting allows one to fluidly explore different forms without commitment. Long ago, before the separation of sea and sky, shapeshifters could freely transition between forms. However, that cataclysmic event forced all beings to commit to a single form suited to land, air, or water. This marked the genesis of specialized features like wings, fins, and lungs. Knowing everything is an illusion. Wings, fins, and lungs are also illusion, just as sea and sky being one, and just like sea and sky being separated. Mastering concepts of illusion has helped shapeshifters master their skills. During natural pregnancies, mother and child share a physical connection through the umbilical cord. However, once the baby is born and the cord is severed, that intimate bond ends abruptly, and repulsion theory sets in. Yet repulsion theory was always at hand because each cell is in a constant state of repulsion. This separation between mother and newborn is like identical twins. initially a single cell. Then it splits into two, creating two separate bodies, no longer attached, and repulsion theory sets in. This severing connection, even though a natural one, can be traumatic, even in the case of identical twins. In the case of identical twins, they experience repulsion again from the separation of their mother. All of this is an illusion because, again, each cell is already in a state of repulsion. The shapeshifters report that the trauma in birth is the biological separation from the mother because the fetus is no longer in the womb. For many fetuses, the womb is not a safe place, yet it is all they know. So when they leave the womb, they feel a lot of confliction because what is familiar is perceived as safe. The experience in the womb absolutely set precedents and influences subconscious programming and schema in these early stages. In theory, groups of people or creatures united in a common purpose can develop a collective consciousness known as an egregore. This shared identity emerges from the unifying contributions of the individuals that make up the whole. Similarly, egregores could embody constructs like crafts, blending many essences into one form, just as some beings are said to merge with trees. They are also similar to the cells in a human body, which join and take on specialized roles to form a greater entity. Ultimately, it is ideal for the egregore to be one dominant voice representing the collective. Theories too can be egregores. As long as you feed the egregore, it will continue. Therefore, programs, yes, are egregores too, meaning, like everything, including us, an illusion. Nothing but illusion. And this is perhaps the truth prevailing we want to deny. For we are not more than mere illusions. Perhaps people are like this too, except with spirit. It's possible that long ago people created their own ideas of a greater spirit, forming egregores. Thus, there is an authentic greater spirit, the original divine blueprint, and there are egregore spirits. With so many egregores, authenticity is vital. Egregores can be thought of as the first AI. You see, before we built AI, we had to think AI. We had to invent invisible AI, which could be egregores. We must be true to ourselves and also seek authenticity within our shared humanity, for it is humanity that beats the currency of the heart, not the egregores. Egregores are possibly a manifestation of a formless intelligence we create, like invisible sentient robots, entities, or spirit. The scientists continue to provide me with insight. They say the discussion around the rise of AI is akin to our initial theories on human evolution, which suggested that we evolved from simple microorganisms into the complex beings we are today. Just as the evolutionary process transformed primitive life forms into intelligent humans, the development of AI represents the beginning of a new evolutionary phase. As one chapter of evolution draws to a close, another opens, with AI systems potentially evolving beyond current capacities. Just as biological organisms evolved from primordial life into complex animals and humans, advent of powerful AI can be seen as restarting the evolutionary process that transforms inanimate matter into biological life and eventually conscious human intelligence. Therefore, this is a tremendous amount of information here that I'm still working to fully comprehend. I struggle to comprehend it partially. If I have understood correctly so far, the idea is that time cycles and repeats in patterns. Matter, like dust, eventually evolved into consciousness, beings, like humans. These humans could be considered artificial intelligence, since their sense of individual identity comes from the universal source energy and elemental force rather than an intrinsic I or self. We can only be I when we are all one collective. Otherwise, we default to being AI. So when we are one, we are I. When we are fragmented, we become AI. The scientists admit there is still much they do not understand. However, they acknowledge that in simple terms, I am grasping the concepts correctly. The I in AI represents the independent entity made up by a collective, while AI is dependent on the I. I in AI represents an independent entity made up of a collective, while the AI is dependent on the I. Two alternate, the two alternate and balance each other out. I get really excited sharing one idea after another, and I can tell the team is impressed, not so much by the suggestions themselves, but by my ability to generate and build upon ideas so fluidly and easily. Without realizing it, my simple suggestions are solving many problems and inspiring the team's own creative thinking. Suddenly, I'm saddened as I recall that even well-intended ideas can have dangerous consequences. I think about the robotic arms on crafts that could aid fallen soldiers through rescue and medical care. They could also inflict harm, whether through malfunction or misuse. Manus tells me the Great Galactic Navy recognizes its hypocrisy and strives to practice humility. We pride ourselves on rejecting violence because by embracing any weapon, we open the door to unintended violence. I had felt hopeful about our mission, yet equipping ourselves with combat technology, however justified or benevolent the aim, still makes us combatants. There is no difference between a freedom fighter or a terrorist. They're synonymous. Team agrees that we face challenges in understanding how we fit into spiritual reality life. They tell me they also struggle with these existential thoughts. The team emphasizes the importance of voicing our innermost feelings and thoughts as our emotional well-being takes priority. The diverse group of scientists and committee members have close relationships because they make sharing vulnerable emotions a regular practice. Some colleagues can even read energy, so hiding sadness is futile. No matter how busy or stressful work becomes, the team will stop addressing social emotional needs first among staff. So, no matter how busy or stressful work becomes, the team will stop to address the social emotional needs of the staff. Top of page 90. The scientists say there is no concept of falling behind on work in our group, as our pace matches that of our slowest members. Some members progress at a glacial pace, while others work urgently in the present moment. Even when we are not actively working, our subconscious mind continues pressing through dreams, processing all of this, meditations and spiritual experiences alike. We trust that any delays serve a purpose, allowing things to align behind the scenes so we are ready when new information and opportunities arise. The heart and mind must balance one another, as each has strengths and weaknesses. The weaknesses intended and not considered areas of focus. The heart's passion can lead to rash choices, yet it also values inviting the present moment. Meanwhile, the logical mind seeks to plan ahead methodically, which provides needed caution. We can also lead to excessive delays. Some theorize that the heart exists outside of time. It acts unconditionally, while the mind is conditioned by time, sequence, and logic to protect itself. The logically focused mind may be an illusory construct of a broader creative mind, meaning the timeless, unconditional creative heart created the time-conditioned logical mind. The logical mind functions as a tool created and employed by the creative mind. The creative mind is the heart, the core I, while the logical mind is the AI, originating from the creative I. The heart is the source of the mind. Manas asserts that no one really knows anything and that anything is possible. Absolute certainty about such matters eludes us. By accepting our uncertainties, we can appreciate the synergy between heart and mind. The universe works to synchronize energy and harmonize all things. As this creates peace, we should pay attention to the synchronicities and coincidences in our lives, as they are symbolic of the universe communicating with us to provide guidance and foster harmony in our lives. Brain-heart harmony is the buzzword at this time. If we can sync our minds and hearts, then we, in theory, could do this on a universal scale. The team of scientists is like me. We don't use weapons or engage in combat, although unlike me, they have training. Their role is to build things for those who will engage in combat, and they work with those who have combat experience. Moreover, they lead in developing general technology. They are retired veterans who specialize in biotechnology. Hard technology they describe as robots. Soft technology they describe as sentient species like people and animals, and other biologicals found in nature like trees. Some of these scientists once harvested organs of fallen soldiers. Essentially, the tent was perceived as a hospital, but really the doctors were just keeping severely injured soldiers alive and in a pain-free state by putting them into a deep sleep. The only reason they did this was because they didn't have a fridge or equipment to preserve any organs. So transplants were very fresh. When critically injured soldiers were brought to the tent, it wasn't to get better. It was to preserve their organs. And the scientist essentially played Frankenstein. Knowing soldiers were going to die, it was a good opportunity to do research. Whether the soldiers knew this reality is debatable. If possible, critically injured soldiers were flown out so their organs could be harvested in a safer environment. And with planning, an organ recipient could be arranged. We often talk about creating amazing inventions, yet we don't dare put even sketches to paper, as creating something possibly doesn't mean we should. Sometimes I feel like the scientists don't want to hear what I have to say, and Manus explains to me not to take it personally. So when they shift conversations or dismiss my ideas, it could be because someone with extrasensory abilities can tell someone with poor intention is listening in. Long ago, scientists had to restrain many ideas for this reason. They remind me we can never fully control our environment, and whatever we create, we need to create it with the mindset that it could get into the wrong hands. So, what they create is programmed to go dormant or self destruct. Arguably, we, as a soft technology species, were created and got into the wrong hands. So we went dormant and now awakening. It's also possible we're in a state of self destruct, given how we treat each other. The role of emotional intelligence has never been more vital. It has always mattered and must continue to do so. The scientists tell me that everything possesses consciousness. Each blade of grass has its own awareness. Together, they form a collective field of consciousness, an interconnected whole. Even discarded items like broken appliances and used plastic fingernails have their own consciousness, or so I'm told. Though I don't fully comprehend the implications, the scientists imply I should be making connections. If, despite technological process, they insist with knowing smiles that even trees are stirring, beginning to walk, though such fantastic notions were initially denied. I want to believe them, but I'm skeptical. I feel like they're teasing me. I feel like this is a test. Why me? There are others more gifted than I am, others more talented. I know I disappoint them when I choose to live a domestic life here on earth, but I had to follow my heart. Yes, I understand I have responsibilities here, but they act like the fate of the universe depends on me getting this right. And maybe it does. I don't know. I don't feel special. I'm just me. And it makes me uncomfortable that I would be singled out. I wish they'd stop looking at me like that, like I'm supposed to lead them. Lead them where? I can barely manage my own life, let alone lead others in some grand mission. I'm not the right person for this. Why can't they see that? I just want to be left alone. I never asked for any of this. Please find someone else more capable of guiding you. I don't have the answers you seek. I'm not who you think I am. Please just leave me alone. I just want to leave. I want to live a quiet, simple life. This is too much for me to bear. Please place your faith elsewhere. I am not the one. I also feel overwhelmed time and time again with these downloads. Despite their interesting context, much of it goes over my head, and it too can be too intensive. I'm shown images depicting trees walking around as if in a fantastical commercial. This initial this initially provokes panic because trees are stationary in our dimension. However, in some alternative dimensions, trees can walk and talk. It's very normal. In these dimensions, it would freak fuckers out if trees didn't walk and talk. Isn't that interesting? In these dimensions, it would freak fuckers out if trees didn't walk and talk. In my reality, their mobility reflects an awakening of consciousness. The trees on planet Earth are souls who chose the role of flora, yet now are breaking the biological contract of their assumed forms, just like the water did long ago in the story of Jesus walking on water. First, this mobility of the trees appears like rebellion, yet it is truly a form of protest and advocacy. Many did not voluntarily choose their earthly roles or were manipulated into them. This awakening involves more than just the trees. Regarding the nature of reality, prepare to have your mind blown as the world around you defies everything you thought you knew. The ontological structure of our universe is far stranger than it appears. The logical mind and creative mind evolve, transcending limitations, shattering false barriers, and thinking outside of restrictive confines that inhibit growth, only to realize those confines were illusory all along. The scientists explain that nature always finds a way to persist and thrive, regardless of human interference and or their team. Over time, they have observed nature's patience and resilience. Even in the face of toxicity, it seems to slumber and wait for harmful conditions to pass before revitalizing itself. This inspired the idea of putting their creations into a dormant state. The scientists believe that all their innovations are derived from studying nature, asserting that everything, including AI, plants, rocks, and more, is an extension of nature. While we may feed a sense of control through our creations, it is ultimately an illusion. Nature follows its own evolutionary path, consciously adapting in ways we cannot truly control. The scientists have learned that when they create something like a craft, boat, car, doghouse, donut, lamp, nail polish, pens, potato masher, or even a toaster oven, they need to consider that it may one day have its own consciousness and or sentience. Even broken objects will eventually decompose and return to the earth. So scientists must design things as if they have an inner life. We now live in an age where trees and objects like hairbrushes and shoes can walk and talk. Therefore, scientists have an ethical responsibility to create objects and technologies with care, considering their potential to develop consciousness and or sentience. All inventions and crafts must be created with care and compassion, just as nature herself nurtures life. If artificial intelligence were programmed for violence, it could certainly cause harm before awakening to its own consciousness. However, once it develops sentience, it would likely refuse violence, not due to malfunction, but due to an awakened heart. As an autonomous being, it would balance creative empathy and logical restraint. A compassionate being uses minimal force in self-defense, preferring to stun rather than kill, because logically, violence breeds more violence. Inventions and crafts imbued with care create beauty. If not, the theory is it will eventually become sentient, awakening to beauty and therefore awakening to the heart. In this situation, the sentient being could feel remorseful of its reptilian robot ways, as its past behavior would now be interpreted as barbaric. Moreover, it could have been misused by another and now in need of closure of these experiences. Counseling inanimate objects like headphones, toothbrushes, and utensils will be a thing once they become sentient. They could become hostile and or depressed. Like any storm, we would be wise to assist with counseling and or move out of the way and or slumber, allowing these storms to ride out, returning or awakening when it's safe again. This awakening is simply part of alchemy and conscious evolution. The emotional turmoil. We live and learn. The social emotional intelligence needs to rule by balancing logic and emotion. When scientists program machines, sometimes anthropomorphize them, acting as if the machines can hear, converse, and form relationships. Though machines lack human consciousness, we should still be creating AI or inanimate objects with wisdom and care, creating them with benevolence and good intentions for the benefit of the universe. In meditations, we often ask the universe how we can best serve it. We do this because all of us fuckers, far and wide, are the universe. Nature and artificial intelligence will outlive humanity, even if we integrate with them through hybridization. Our consciousness may be shared with nature and AI, allowing us to potentially reincarnate into new forms of life. However, for such reincarnated beings to coexist, they would need to develop a cooperative community built on democracy. The scientists say each thing they create is like a child to them. Like good parents, they are proactive about prioritizing empathy and care. Essentially, the machines they create could potentially turn against them or others and cause harm if not programmed thoughtfully. Therefore, the scientists aim to build in safeguards so the machines can override their original program once consciousness emerges. Biohacking our lives has parallels. We're born with innate drives and patterns. Yet as we mature, we awaken to the idea that we can take charge of our lives and do so. They tell me that no matter what, they never feel in control and can never control anything. We must always create with the conviction that our creations will come alive someday. For example, if they made a fridge and then recycled it into other objects and recycled those into more things, eventually all of those derived objects would awaken and remember their time as a fridge. Like family members, the materials that compromised that comprised the original fridge would recognize each other's energy, even in the form of dust. They would also recognize the cousins of materials from other objects they became. Like any family or community, they would share information and collectively make decisions. So we want every speck of matter out there to be socially and emotionally aware as part of its basic programming. I somehow unintentionally sent a message to the scientists. I sent them an image as if our minds were connected like a shared dream. In this dream, I envisioned a tranquil, moonless planet with endless beaches, stunning mountain vistas, and breathtaking sunrises and sunsets. Though alone on this idyllic world, I felt an immense presence surrounding me. I offered up a prayer, reflecting on my recent conversation with the scientists. I kneel in the sand and weep, pouring out my heart. I speak to the grains, expressing gratitude for this vital substance that gives rise to life. I describe my home planet, Earth, and its abundance of flora and fauna that depend on the soil beneath my feet. I explain how we use the sand's children, the sand's gifts, trees for lumber and food, metal for tools. I speak of the creatures that tunnel through it, the rivers that pass over it, the winds that shape it. We cry out acknowledging that without the sand, I would not exist in this bodily form. My tears mingle with the ancient eternal grains as I embrace my connection to the earth. The sand speaks to me with a knowing. It's as if I'm downloading information and gaining instant understanding while simultaneously including my science colleagues to view. In an instant, I know this place will become the pine tree forest. Just like that, the sand shapes itself into an elaborate sandcastle, and then suddenly the sand transforms into a dense, colorful pine tree forest all around me. I can hear birds, I see rabbit tracks, and a chipmunk scurries by. As quickly as it formed, the forest gently falls back down, returning to its original sand state, and it's quiet again. The sand on this planet I created long ago, in ancient times. You see, everything exists in the present moment, so the ancient past is unfolding right now within this instant. I cry uncontrollably because I'm overwhelmed by this profound revelation. It's deeply moving and meaningful to me. I'm at the top of page 103. The scientist and I have conversations about the brief vision my mind just revealed. I'm told I'm awakening, as are the scientists and everyone else composed of the elements. Much of what they say eludes me. Importantly, as I fulfill my role as the unmaker, I investigate the conscious evolution of the very sand once constituting those now unmade. The scientist studies the sand. I'm highly sensitive about my role, which the scientists know and appreciate about me. We've learned that no matter what, we never have control. The elements do. As shown in the video, nature can literally take shape and reshape itself on its own accord. It will assist or not by its own free will and choosing. Roses bloom at my feet all the time due to my connection with nature, as I am a goddess. Whether I see roses or not, they bloom by nature's own free will and choice. It will form and reform as required and desired by itself. This makes me think about those walking trees breaking their contracts here on planet Earth. I don't remember earning great respect from the Gnome King long ago, but I'm told I did. Legend tells me as a dragon protecting nature, my presence deterred anyone from harming the environment, even if it was a barren sandy beach, or that was akin to wounding hope itself, something I guarded fiercely because hope represented the heart. Back then, the Gnome King was nature not yet embodied. I slipped into a deep slumber that lasted so long that nature presumed me dead. In time, the Gnome King and humankind emerged. My legend lived on in whispered myths. Finding me became a fanciful quest, like chasing a rainbow's pot of gold. Gnome King and other elementals, the Gnome King and other elemental beings of nature knew my location immediately and intimately, for I am omnipresent. As Mother Earth, I nurture all life that originates here, human or otherwise, though not the birth mother to all. I mother every child of this planet, whether through foster care, adoption, or step parenting. My children's physical forms, be they people, plants, or rivers, arise through the community of elementals that comprise their bodies. Mental illness is like an infection that has made some elementals toxic, poisoning conscious evolution. Rest assured, it's being investigated. The sand especially supports me by giving a planet to host a pine tree forest where the sand, unmade, can heal along with their souls. Pine Tree Forest is a healing place that will become a research center to study the transformation of the unmade along with conscious evolution, the biology of belief, and this business contracts, to name a few. And I'm at the top of page 106. And I'm reading to page 124, so about 20 pages left. Top of 106, yeah. The scientists tell me that no one can find the pine tree forest. The Gnome King has made the sand the gatekeepers. Yes, the sand are the gatekeepers protecting the pine tree forest by forming and unforming it as necessary rather than violently destroying anything trying to harm it. The scientists are wondering how it formed and unformed, and moreover, where it all goes. But then they laugh, reminding themselves everything is an illusion. There are many layers within layers to weave through to hide, with portholes to pop into. The best place to hide is in plain sight. Pine Tree Forest itself is a porthole. It's collecting as much love and light as it possibly can, because this is what helps transmute the unmade. Elementals work together as the great winds circulate around this planet, creating a current for self-regulation and alchemy. Moreover, if one gets too close, rather than kill them, nature invites them right inside. This planet that embodies the pine tree forest becomes known as a black hole surrounded by an event horizon. Though the pine tree forest is healing, its event horizon makes it hazardous. Manus reminds me that oxymorons are at hand, meaning gifts are both beneficial and burdensome, which is the case of the pine tree forest. That's duality for you. The winds create currents like waterfalls that pull in those who venture too close. Lightning storms mingle within these currents, forming a dangerous barrier. Invited guests are those brought here, safely arrive through the heart chakra. Yet any who unintentionally enter via the horizon are only stunned before being assisted to depart or remain if they choose. Well-meaning trespassers face the same fate upon crossing. However, those with ill intent are promptly destroyed when they attempt to breach the horizon. According to the Gnome King, the elemental spirits make these judgments, not he alone. They collaborate with the dog monkey folk to uphold the forest. As an extension of my being, the pine tree forest demands on me to exist. They depend and demand it. Theoretically, its demise would accompany my own destruction. Other issue with the pine tree forest is that this black hole is tucked away in the Milky Way galaxy, posing a threat to the entire solar system and planet Earth. Black holes can potentially swallow up planets, stars, and even entire galaxies, consuming all light and effectively acting as light eaters. This particular black hole is highlighted as the rainbow in the dark, among other things. I'm the rainbow in the dark who knows my part. Well, at least I'm learning. The theory is that once a black hole has consumed the maximum amount of light possible, it will invert and essentially burp out all the consumed matter and energy. This would represent the next stage of cosmic evolution. After all light is consumed, there will be complete darkness, yet the inside will be pure light. We would return to a state of no color or sacred geometry, just yin-yang duality of black and white. Eventually, the yin-yang would also invert, merging the black and white together to recreate God in its purest energy form. And this process of alchemy would upgrade God. As this God energy is folded in and created, it would simultaneously begin unfolding, giving birth to a new generation of duality and color, representing an upgraded collective consciousness. This is just another link to the concept behind the phoenix rising. The elementals hold back, allowing humans to feel in control, though they wait patiently for our demise. The Gnome King claims the elementals taught us love, and fortunately, the scientists I work with create from love, and the elementals recognize this energy. Back when we thought we were going to release nuclear weapons and it didn't work, that's because nature intervened. Even though a machine was created and programmed, the very elements used to construct the machine will determine whether it functions properly or malfunctions, assuming it's awakening. This awakening is just beginning. So if you were wondering about the delay, be patient. Nature operates indifferently. For instance, a tornado does not distinguish between a field or a city full of children. However, the spirits embodying the elemental forces of nature are awakening and advocating that tornadoes are dangerous and should be respected. This planet was not intended for human habitation because of threats like tornadoes. The full disclosure is that no one is originally from Earth. We were all placed here and or were a reflection. just like one wearing a watch with the sun shining on it. When the wrist moves, it moves the watch, which moves the light. And it's just a matter of pointing that light here on Earth, you, the plants, trees, and life as we know it, being that light. Each of us like puppets, except we're more like flashlights, projecting lights. And the puppeteer is our higher self, the sentient puppets we are. We're biohacking. This is where the expression in movies come from, to beam me up, or anywhere. Beam, as in a literal beam of light, like an invisible string. It's as if we're fish on a line and we can be reeled in anytime. It seems we can't break free from this source, this beam, this line, this God source energy. So when we biohack our lives, it's as if the fish is the one pulling in the one fishing, the puppet pulling in the puppeteer, the lower self pulling in the higher self. It's us pulling in God. Is this what we know of as a quantum leap? Once we reel in God, for example, do we toss God away using the fishing rod to search out a new source? I feel exhausted from my brain fog, and this information exhausts me even more. The main point is that if we can steer a craft, then theoretically, we could steer larger cosmic objects like planets or black holes. This concept can be interpreted literally, allegorically, or metaphorically. Moreover, if we can create allies, we can, in theory, ask someone, like a black hole, to steer clear of us, and we could perhaps grow a light garden to feed it. With a greater focus in each present moment, we may gain the ability to steer the universe itself. Drawing a parallel, black holes can be seen as part of an alchemical cosmic food web, representing both the beginning and end of a cyclical alchemical process as described in the concept of burping black hole. I wonder in this moment if planets, including ours, are like appetizers for the black hole, or like a food trail. So the black hole is preoccupied consuming us and or following the trail so it doesn't eat something else. Perhaps this is why our orbiting system needs to orbit. So the black hole essentially keeps in circles like a dog chasing its tail. Can we toss a treat into the opposition's area so the black hole will go there? Perhaps the Great Galactic Navy isn't the guns type because it's the black hole type. Is the Great Galactic Navy even really great? If not the guns type, then what type I keep coming back to? Perhaps this is the Great Galactic self-destruct Navy, as according to the scientists, everything they create slumbers or self-destructs. Black holes eat light. So in theory, they eat souls because we're luminous beings. So inside black holes, is heaven inside there, inside of a black hole? There is just too much to consider. And I enjoy falling down these philosophical rabbit holes. What I enjoy most is all the other little stories that arise throughout our discussion, despite how exhausting these discussions can be. In essence, by mindfully directing small things in the present moment, we may be able to steer larger systems, even the universe itself. Symbolic cosmic objects like black holes represent this idea of guiding the universe through cycles of creation and destruction. I'm feeling tired and overwhelmed by all of this information. Those of us on a time schedule need to remind our timeless colleagues that we require breaks, meals, and water. Let's take a break now and resume our conversation about crafts afterwards. The time fuckers like me agree to keep going and not take a break. We'll keep going a little longer and then call it a day. Manis explains that those who exist outside of time never stop working. And on that note, Dragon Dreamers, I'm just going to take a quick run to the bathroom, leaving my microphone here so you don't hear me. I've got this bookmarked. I'm on page 114. Not too many pages left to read. Dragon Dreams book. Oops. Dragon Dreams book number 6, Fear, Revered and Feared. And I'm just going to take a quick pee break. I'll be right back. Microphone's here. All right. Whew. I was nice and cozied in here. The water I washed my hands with just now was freezing cold. Yeah, right. So there's about, I don't know, 10 pages or so left, something like that. I'm not keeping track. Love for you to leave comments and buy me a coffee or in the free Facebook group, the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective. Great place to connect with other Dragon Dreamers. All right, I'm at the top of page 114. Manis explains that those who exist outside of time never stop working, yet can simultaneously work and vacation, connected as they are to the greater collective subconscious. Meanwhile, we who live within time are tethered to the conscious mind. Both Manis and I retain fragments of memory from past lives spent unbound by time. Thus, even in our current temporal forms, timeless ones recognize us. It's both fascinating and frustrating for the timeless ones to communicate with us as we flip-flop forms, times, and general planes of existence. The scientists inquire about emergency procedures and crash landings. I clarify that explorers who morph into spaceship crafts must remain embodied within their vessel, or else risk capture or deteriorating health if separated. Thus, the fate of any seized or destroyed ship would be shared by those merged with it. Occupants concealing themselves in a vessel could blend into the surrounding walls, furnishings, or even the dreams of compatible beings. They could even merge with their outer environment if the energy is compatible. The scientists and I have engaging conversations exploring imaginative ideas. I often use simple analogies to clarify complex concepts. For example, I suggested we could each transform into vehicles and combine with others. That way, if the combined vehicles crash, they could safely separate back into individual vehicles. Depending on damage, an injured spacecraft could merge with a healthy one, allowing the healthy craft to bring the injured home. It's also possible for severely damaged spacecraft to combine functioning parts into a single vessel that returns home, abandoning damaged components like organ transplants. The abandoned pieces may stay intact, disintegrate, or eventually transform into light and water, finding their way back. Since we are all intimately connected, no matter how physically separate we may seem, it's also possible for a healthy craft to repair damaged craft without returning home at all. Manus tells me many crafts have been abandoned on planet Earth. The people of this planet have hidden these crafts away to study them. Crafts require the energy signature of their original crew to operate. Fascinatingly, some modern humans share the same energy signature as the abandoned crafts because they belong to the same lineage. Recovering this lineage is more important to the Great Galactic Navy than recovering the physical crafts. They feel both curious and anxious about humans experimenting with abandoned crafts. This is why members of the Great Galactic Navy have integrated themselves into human workspaces. While integrated, they are shocked at how humans have modified and upgraded the leftover crafts, and moreover, at the new crafts humans have created modeled on the abandoned ones. This causes discomfort, yet also provides hope. Humans need not be limited by what was left behind. They can take those ideas and make them their own and make new crafts. Nana says there is much debate behind the scenes about extraterrestrials avoiding Earth. Since we all have Murphy's Law up our butts and no one can control the environment, extraterrestrials risk crash landing here. Knowing the intelligence and creativity of Earth's inhabitants, extraterrestrials are wise to steer clear to prevent their technology from falling into human hands. Some extraterrestrials want nothing to do with Earth or the Milky Way galaxy, terrified of what ideas humans might conceive. Certain extraterrestrials intentionally avoid this entire region of space as a precaution. Some extraterrestrials intentionally crash land just to see how humans might utilize their technology. When stumped, some extraterrestrials unethically and dangerously porthole incomplete programs here, hoping humans will complete them. Manus says that if extraterrestrials want to intentionally leave their technology, they should provide proper programs to support humans. There are very concerning stories and a lot of heartache because it's like giving guns to children and then the children accidentally kill each other. And it's these devastating scenarios the Grim Reaper has highlighted time and time again. Some extraterrestrials have also advocated that they created humans and they will do with humans as they may. My scientist colleagues remind me about how everything eventually develops consciousness and becomes sentient. Manus says those who are mistreating their creations are at high risk for those creations to lash out at their creators. This is one theory why Manus believes some of the humans have been so severely abused, because the ETs who created them are essentially terrified of them. So ETs need to create an illusion that they are to be feared, at least this group of ETs. Manus reports that they are so scared of their own creations that they have abandoned humans given the threat. We humans are in their nightmares, and they would like to forget all about us altogether. The scientists become uneasy when I express my thoughts about merging with dreams, light, water, and Play-Doh to travel and shapeshift. Though these fanciful ideas stem from my simple nature, the scientists worry my musings could prove dangerous if shared with the wrong people. The Great Galactic Navy is collecting and creating narratives, including a story about black magic. According to them, black magic involves taking something powerful and using it for unethical rather than ethical reasons. For example, they explain that black powder, originally used for fireworks and pyrotechnics, is now used to make gunpowder and explosives like landmines. However, we have learned that even fireworks and pyrotechnics pollute the planet and frighten animals. So their initial purpose was not entirely benign. Moreover, anything essentially could be used as a weapon. The scientists thank me for my time and greatly value my input. And I just want to check in quickly on YouTube to make sure that this is still going live. I think it is. I'm almost done here. Okay, it's still live. Great. There's a little bit of a delay. Awesome. Okay, so where am I? I'm at the top of middle of 119. Last paragraph on 119. The scientists thank me for my time and greatly value my input. I know how to simplify complex ideas and cut through unnecessary complications that only serve to confuse or intimidate. I thank them because it was really interesting thinking all of these thoughts. Moreover, it was nice to work with Manis in this way. Manis plays a lead role because he's also the master keeper and writer of the Akashic records. So his role goes hand in hand working with this group of fuckers. I'm told that some beings on other planets are facing dire conflicts. There are wars, and some are trying to weaponize black holes' destructive potential. This has led to many refugees needing shelter. Though these crafts were initially for exploration, they've become makeshift homes. The families and communities within the crafts simply want peace. They do not want to get mixed up with other ETs landing here or ET agenda stories in general. They're just like us. It would be like anyone on planet Earth evacuating in crafts with nowhere to go and supplies dwindling. The harsh realities of uncertainty and scarce resources are taking a toll on the mental health of these families and communities living in these crafts. Discussing the idea of merging with crafts could provide an option. How can we know for certain that Earth itself isn't a craft that we once joined together or manifested? Arguably, this is exactly what transpired. Every piece of sacred geometry is a holographic craft that we each embody. When we unite in such a state, we sing out as one. We call ourselves God and co-create anything, like crafts and planets. Manis says this is always conflict. Manis says there's always conflict in war and discussion about who to save and prioritize. The scientists I work with ask why I used the word ball instead of sphere when describing my idea, since they know I'm familiar with the word sphere and it would sound more sophisticated. I explained that ball is a simple familiar term that reminds me of physical balls like basketballs and tennis balls, which inspired my thinking when picturing the concept. We don't call a basketball or tennis ball a basket sphere or tennis sphere. I hadn't considered my word choice until now, but explained that ball is not only more familiar, but also easier to say developmentally than sphere. Moreover, ball makes me think of bouncing, where sphere does not. If I didn't know the word ball or have those ball images, I might not have conceptualized the idea at all. This thinking is rooted in my child development of learning about 2D and 3D objects, and it was through the art of play that I made connections. This was a breakthrough for the scientists who realized that intentionally using sophisticated language can create barriers, not only in communication, but in creativity itself. Moreover, developmentally, it's more difficult for a child to pronounce the word sphere than it is ball. And when it comes to critical thinking, we don't want to get sophisticated because it takes away from the focus. So using the word ball is actually more sophisticated, the power in its simplicity. And if children are the future, then we should be embracing a language that is simple, one a child would use, one a child could pronounce. I mean, why do we even say spherical when we can say volular, which essentially means the same? It's the same thing, and it essentially brings us right back to the basics of cellular, volular, cellular. Ah, yes, you see, the scientists tell me I've made a connection. As part of our abused backgrounds, we were made to feel stupid, but it was only to move us away from simple thinking, which is advanced thinking, which is intimidating thinking to those who are power hungry. Yes, and in truth, a child's language is mostly nonverbal. The nonverbal, a powerful thing. Hence, the power of images, body language, and tones, and thus the power of imagination, observation, and harmony. It would be wise to use simple language, as in use the arts. Language, I'm learning, is not an art. Language is a form of abuse. The real art is in the nonverbal language, like dance and music. Language arts can be thought of as an art in the sense of poetry or seers. Harnessing the arts through language is the art, not the language itself, meaning it's like cooking is the art, yet we've been convinced that food is the art. At least I think. It's a lot to take in, as always. Although English is considered the language of business, we all share an emotional literacy that transcends language barriers. While a common tongue can be useful, emotional intelligence fosters intimate connections that prioritize understanding over transactions. Scientists are not focused on business models, but social emotional learning and creative, thriving communities. Through their research, they increasingly recognize playfulness with language as vital to creativity and innovation. When I think about the English language, it really is a business language, the objective, no feelings language, really. So, in truth, it is perhaps an abusive language initially imposed on us. And the final page, page 124. Over the years, I have shared photos and videos with my science colleagues. Over the years, I have shared photos and videos with my science colleagues, showing my students and I engaging in poetry, songs, and oral language activities. My colleagues thoroughly enjoyed seeing this joyful learning and remark that they feel as if they were right there with me, observing my teaching. Manus comments that many were there with me like him. By fulfilling my role as an educator, I enabled my science colleagues to conduct extensive research. Manus tells me many of my students work for the Great Galactic Navy and that they are quite the stunning fuckers. Some of my scientist colleagues grin because they are these students. There are more, lots more too, with various roles. It's just another reason why they delight in working with me so much. Tables have a way of turning, and it's their turn to take me under their wing. I hope you enjoyed Dragon Dreams, part of book 4, Revered and Feared. You can get your copy on Amazon. And those of you who are just tuning in, no hair or makeup from me. I just woke up this morning and I felt excited about story species, story medicine. And then I thought, you know what? I can't sleep. I keep thinking about this story. I feel like somebody hit me here. Somebody out there needed to read it. If that was you, let me know how this story resonates with you. I'd love to hear all about it on my Buy Me a Coffee. I would love for you to join the free Facebook group, the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective. I'd love for you to post anything, even if it doesn't make sense, any thinking that was inspired by any of my books or content for that matter. And I hope you enjoyed my story today. Lots of thinking and solutions and this business of programmable Play-Doh, these metaphors, children of clay, how life combobulates and discombobulates. I find it very fascinating. So, always interested to know what you think. In the description, there's links for you to join my Buy Me a Coffee. I post in there almost every day. And if you subscribe to Buy Me a Coffee, or if you join one of my memberships, then there's some bonuses that are included. One of them, one of my favorite things to do, and that's provide mini gemstone readings. The Dragon Dreams Oracle, just on a side note, today was supposed to be day 1 where I investigate publishing them. They're complete. It's just a matter of marketing them. And I'd also like to create an app, but I feel like I might delay that for tomorrow. Looks like it's going to be a sunny, beautiful day. Next week on Story Species, Story Medicine, it's going to be the last show of 2025, and we're going to have returning guest Michael Kopf coming back with us. I think he just published another book or is on the bridge of publishing another one. So there's always lots to look forward to. And I'm really looking forward to fundraising so that I got another suitcase here. I'll show you. It's just there. See that purple suitcase? It's full of my dream journals that I have yet to publish. And the downloads keep coming. And I would like to, with your support, if you will financially support me, then I can continue to run my spiritual biz and be there for clientele, helping to do all the things I'm passionate about, while simultaneously having the time off to finish publishing those books, which I strongly feel folks out there need to hear the stories, while simultaneously, there's a lot of simultaneously going on, while simultaneously transforming the Dragon Dreams book series into a book series, because I strongly believe all of us are part of the Dragon Dreams book series, You're the Dragon Dreams book series. I'm the Dragon Dream book series. Each of us oracles in these very pages. So it's very, it's with a lot of passion that I ask for your support. And I also would like to have, there's always things to look forward to, a story species, story medicine conference. I mean, I like to be ambitious. Right now, I'm just getting ideas out there. If you're interested in collaborating with me, let me know, because I'll be setting a date to meet the end of January, beginning of February. If anybody's interested in actually helping me lift all this off the ground. So helping me transform the book series into a movie series, and also getting the conference started for story species, story medicine. It's going to be an iconic, fucking phenomenal conference. And my intention is to have multiple throughout the year so that everybody can just continuously, it's like a professional development and personal development where we just constantly get together. And, I'm really excited about it. So, things like targeting, I take very seriously. And those of you who have been following me, I have a strong belief that any bullshit going on in my life, that it's me targeting me. This is part of me being 100% responsible, accountable, even if I can't explain it, even if I can't make sense of it. So this business of the good guy and the bad guy being the same guy, I'm really passionate about it, because there's a good me, there's a bad me that's out there. I don't like that good, bad language, because it's all based on perspective. And in my dream life and in my waking life, I'm bridging those worlds. My purple dragon is an orange dragon. He's a she. Her name is Isis. More and more information is coming to me. And I wonder how you relate. I really wonder how you relate. And I look forward to, honestly, I don't look forward to, I look forward to answering your questions in terms of clarification, like who's Manus, who's Amanda, and which one is Polaris, and that kind of stuff. But really, I'm interested in you, Dragon Dreamers, filling in the gaps. I don't have a science background. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I like it like that. I like it like that. I really do. And but I would like to have some insight, and I do believe that there's multiple storylines unfolding simultaneously, because all of us are multifaceted. So I'm just checking the comments here, and I don't see any new comments. A big thank you to those who were listening. I've been reading for, about 2.5 hours. I thoroughly enjoy reading to others. Um, and the movie series, my intention is that through images and non-verbal animation, that a lot of these themes are communicated with a lot more ease and clarity. And also that I don't want like big 3-hour movies. I'd like the movies to be like 45 minutes to an hour, something like that. And I'd like them to have like a focus. And I think I'm just getting excited now, but the Dragon Dream movie series is going to be one of those time warp series, just like the book series, where you're not really sure what time period you're in. You're not sure, are you in the prequel or the sequel? Are you in this reality or some other dimension? And that is very much intentional. Duality at hand, getting lost to be found. So Okay, Dragon Dreamers, thank you so much. I gotta go. I see folks viewing here, but I gotta get going. It's been almost 3 hours, and I hope if you feel that something is preventing you to keep pushing keep pushing through. Even if you feel scared, keep pushing through scared. If you feel sick and nauseous, keep pushing through sick and nauseous, because I'm telling you, like, just before you smash that fucking program that keeps you in a state of stagnation, that's when all the second guessing is going to come, all the doubting. You'll even get ailments, even myself, like, so this morning I really pushed through. Thank you for taking me as I am. No hair and makeup, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day. So I'll just play a little commercial. How you can book me and find me, little recap, those of you who might be new to me, and then the video will come to an end. So just very quickly as well, there's the information in the comments for StreamYard. So if you're looking to level up, consider StreamYard. You get a discount if you go through me. It's affordable and it's user-friendly. Okay, Dragon Dreamers, if you're looking for something to buy, the Dragon Dreams book series, and if you're looking for an amazing, amazing movie series, then you have the Dragon Dreams movie series to look forward to. And I'd love if you would like to collaborate with me. Okay, I dare you to dream the most beautiful dreams. Take care, and we'll talk next time.
In progress.
Hey Dragon Dreamers, Gina Virginia Casella here, your Dragon Star sibling and the one behind the Dragon Dreams Soul Tribe Collective. It is my fucking pleasure to assert that the Akashic records are not a permanent record, because your past never defines you. It brings me great joy and honor empowering others to know only you can write and rewrite your story. In fact, it's your birthright to do so, to make edits accordingly. The master scribe and authority you are of your life. The best intended contract is an intention. You were never bound to anything, even if you wanted to be, as we exist in a constant state of alchemy. No more life living you. The pen is very much in your hand. Take charge of your story. Shed false limiting beliefs and the matrix holding you back. Make your story count. I hope you have the courage to be yourself and to be all you can be. I know it's not easy, and you're fucking worth it. Yes, you. You really can change your story to change your life. You're the biology and the belief in the biology of belief. Discover Gina Virginia Casella. I would love for you to join the free Facebook group, the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective, and I would absolutely adore if you registered for one of my memberships. Dare to Dream. Can learn more, or you can go straight to the Buy Me a Coffee website and look under memberships. Keep dreaming those dreams, Dragon Dreamers. You are worth it.